again. Hope you enjoy our first panel discussion. Our next segment is a panel discussion titled Reframing the New Financial Services Landscape. Of course, we have our moderator, a distinguished representative of the FinTech community. And we have our panelist, His Excellency Vongvichet, Under Secretary of State of Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications. Dr. Phonnary, Executive Vice President and Group Chief Operation Officer of ACLEDA. His Excellency Seingheng, Director General, Ministry of Industry, Science, Technology and Innovation. Mr. Nguonly, Executive Director of D.Q.D Startup Center. Mr. Chanda, Chairman of Cambodia Association of Finance and Technology and CEO of Bongloy. Shall we begin? Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good late morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Here in studio again, for me, second time. My name is Tomas Pokorny, Secretary General of Cambodian Association of Finance and Technology. And with me, I have pleasure to have here, as already introduced in studio, Dr. Phonnary, Executive Vice President and Group Chief Operations Officer of ACLEDA Bank PLC. Thank you for having us. We have here Chanda Pen, CEO and founder of Bongloy Payments, and also a representative of Cambodian Associations of Finance and Technology, my fellow colleague in FinTech. Online, I think that already we should have, or we will have joining shortly, His Excellency Vongvichet, Undersecretary of State, Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications, and Mr. Taing Nguonly, Executive Director of D.Q.D Startup, as well as Excellency Seingheng, Director General, Ministry of Industry, Science, Technology and Innovation. This panel discussion talking about reframing new financial services, I think plays big importance of this week setting for the entire FinTech Festival event, because financial services has played significant role in promoting financial inclusion.
Can you hear me now?
Digital transactions.
Yes.
The financial service in Cambodia is growing at rapid pace.
Thank you very much. So today we have a very
in the past 5
good
years.
panel. I'm going to just introduce them all. First is Excellency Vongvichet. He's the Undersecretary of State, Ministry of Posts and Telecoms. We also have Dr.
Other
Hello. Please do put on your video so we can see you when you introduce yourself. We also have Dr. Phonnary, Executive Vice President and Group Chief Operations Officer at the ACLEDA Bank. We have Mr. Chanda. He's the Chairman of the Cambodian Association of Finance and Technology and Chief Executive Officer of Bongloy, and I will ask him to introduce his company and organization. And lastly, Mr. Taing Nguonly, Executive Director of the Techno Startup Center. And my apologies if I have mispronounced it, my sincere apologies. So perhaps we can start today with just an outline. I think if I can give the panelists some indication. I think the first thing is we would like to understand from your perspective, maybe in about 5 minutes each, how the environment is changing. And then later go on, I think, to talk about commercial value chains and rise of digital banking, etc. But perhaps if I can invite Mr. Vongvichet in about 5 minutes or maybe less.
Of finance.
Thank you.
And how we look forward. I think I just
right now the environment change has rapidly. Cambodia have been growing rapidly, like the the banking sector like ABA, Wing have make payment system easier for our consumer,
and 1 minute high elevator
payment have good. For all most of the small SME are using payment system more conveniently, and then the people in Cambodia right now also tends to use carry a mobile phone instead of a wallet right now. So
So maybe initially, Mr. Chanda, do you wanna, before we have back online sessions for some technical difficulties, do you want to share your opinion on overall reframing of financial services? 60 seconds elevated pitch. How do you think that you and FinTech community will enter into this perhaps next 5 years model? Because we've seen big rapid changes as we discussed past 5 years, but next 5 years will be maybe completely different journey. Are we ready for it? Do you want to give us a brief introduction from FinTech community?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Thomas. So from the FinTech community, I think all of us are very excited about this new development of the industry itself in Cambodia. Although the industry itself is not new, it's been around for quite some time. And here you see the early adoption of payments really is the big thing. And payments will still be the key driver of the industry. However, you also will see other type of FinTech verticals that's going to be coming up, from InsurTech to lending, P2P lending, and so on. And so for us as a community, we're excited to be part of this discussion and also working with our fellow financial institutions, especially commercial bankers, to kind of collaborate and work together and help drive this industry forward.
Thank you, Chanda. Maybe Dr. Phonnary, when we look at first question and we look at environment, not from the perspective only of environment from the ecological sense of it, but environment in financial services. You know, the changes as we discussed are coming rapidly, and banks are forced to adapt. Sometimes it's not forcible, but it's in the organic path, organic growth. You as a representative of one of the largest banks in Cambodia, how would you say that financial institutions proactively trying to help to drive this change, to help consumer to adjust to this change? Because ACLEDA started, and you can correct me because you know the history better, you have big history in your bank behind. And you have consumers who started with you maybe 15, 20 years ago almost, right, in your bank. How did it change? Because you still have those consumers that started with you those 20 years back. But you have also new coming era of young people in, for example, 18 to 25. What are you doing? And I'm sure that ACLEDA has been doing past 5 years big steps towards adjusting to that new population. And have you seen even the older population that is with you long term adopting those new solutions?
Thank you very much. Yes, for financial service sector, I mean that for financial institution, is if we also including bank, microfinance institution, insurance company, also the other relevant to financial services. Yes, in Cambodia that we notice that they are trying proactive. They are trying in a proactive, not passive, in order to develop financial service in Cambodia. Along with the economic in Cambodia grow also fast, also consider around the world that Cambodia is one of the country that grow fast, also economic growth every year. I mean, except for COVID-19 that this we could not count that this is the issue of global. That's why that the financial institution, especially bank and also I talk about bank and MFI and other will be later, that also they try the best to growth there. I mean that provide financial service to the customer, not only in the city but also there for the branch network. I mean that the physical branch also in so far that they are try to expand their branch network not only in the provincial town or Phnom Penh city but also at the remote area, rural area also, that we see that the growth from, if we compare to the last 10 years, 5 to 10 years and had to 5 years, so the physical branch network, I mean branch also grow so far, and also they also provide a financial service to the close to the people in the both town and the rural area. talk about the traditional one that the service also provided through the counter that they try to best to provide customer service to let their customer satisfy, because they want to prevent that how they don't want to the customer that say welfare from them. That's why this service, I mean, I want to say that they try to do business excellent. However, everything that we could not, I mean that like a leader of each of our manager of each of institution could not, I mean that try the best, but what that we want, because we also, I mean that our staff also different. However, even on one organization, I mean one institution under the code of conduct of the I mean that the corporate code of conduct, and we provide training the same to them, but the service sometimes also we in the I mean the our environment, sometimes also customer also they also complain also, but we try to complain as now social media also easy to access in Cambodia, so they can make their complaint anywhere. Then I talk about how proactive, I mean that even the services, talk about the product and service that the financial institution also try to develop their new product to have plenty, I mean many type of talk about a loan product, so they are not quite different, I mean similar product, and also they talk about deposit that the source of fund that cheap and also available in Cambodia. Also, we see that both credit and deposit also in Cambodia grows fast in the financial sector. That yes, grows so fast, and then also relevant to other service. We talk about payment. Payment, like I mentioned, that not only serve at the counter, but financial institution try to best to make them more convenient. The customer no need to come to the branch office, to the office at time constraint, and also to reduce any risk. That's why that they also financial institution also provide electronic banking. That like ACLEDA Bank, we start with this since 2007. That in that time that our ATM deployed in the year 2007, and we noticed that when we offer ATM in 2007, our deposit also and loan is equal. Before we the portfolio of loan is more than deposit. However, when convenience service, I mean that the customer can, when the bank close and they can come 24 hours over 7 days. So we saw that the customer try, also the customer more convenient and also reliable on that service 24 hours. So we saw that our deposit and loan equal. So source of fund to grow loan also help each other, how we can grow that we can reduce the I mean lending from a commercial source. Other means of payment in Cambodia, also not only ATM, but the customer can access their payment 24 hours where also a mobile phone in the line. I mean at the meantime our ITC in Cambodia also grow fast. That's why that the available, I mean make financial institution expand their payment, I mean payment service to mobile phone, that so mobile banking in their hand or way. That's why they can do transaction by themselves. So this is a very proactive, and talk about this, what that we achieve for this. Also, we never forget the support from National Bank of Cambodia, that like I mean the Wickman before that he also share us about how regulator and related regulator try the best to support for mean of payment financial institution, and also you also listen that they know that how government support our financial technology.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Phonnary. Guest online, I would like to say hello, welcome back. And I won't be taking it easy on you too much. I have right away one question for you since you join us. And I think this question is coming towards both semi-government, semi-private point of view. So as I heard from Dr. Phonnary, from Chanda, the financial services are evolving rapidly. There is a lot of changes, and those changes are both technological and societal. It changes the business environment. So what would you say? And maybe we can start from Ministry or from MISTI, Ministry of Industry, Science, Technology and Innovation. What would you say is our main challenges that management is facing in changing business environment? Because you at MISTI combine essentially various industries together, so you've seen firsthand different industries responding to different challenges differently. So we know it's progressing. It is good for industry in long term. 5 years from now, maybe we'll have more inclusive, more ultimate financial inclusion here. But how does business and how do businesses adjust to it? And what does regulator do for it? What are programs there that will help those businesses to adjust to those changes? Excellency Seingheng, can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, so welcome.
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes,
we can hear.
Yes, I hear you well, but can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Yes, talking about it, I think for those who don't talk, I think you may mute. Yes. Talking about the challenge from MISTI, Ministry of Industry, Science, Technology perspective. I think we oversee technology as a whole, and including artificial intelligence as well. And we have seen FinTech is emerging technology in Cambodia and across the globe as well. But the challenge is what are the legal frameworks to support and the theoretical concepts behind this FinTech technology is remain not really well identified so far. So there are many challenges so far. So of course we do agree that it has been growing fast, but the legal framework to support or to ensure that this new way of FinTech system is alive for future development is something that we have to investigate further. As a mandate of MISTI, we have done some regulatory framework in the future as our mandate stated in the sub-degree 48 in this year. So, and including that, of course, you know, AI is one of technology that the most, I think, from literature review academically, is a promising technology to be used mainly in this FinTech technology. I think there are many points of consideration when talking about FinTechs. Of course, it affects lifestyle change or vice versa. And of course, a question of ethics, a question of privacy, question of security, finance, and deploy funds efficiency is the question that we may oversee in the future. And I hope I shorten the question here, and if you have any specific question over that, please. Apology, it's really, echo make what I'm talking, so not really the one we like here, appear almost 1 minute after what I'm told.
We understand. Thank you very much for your comments. I would say, even though we should move to the next question, I think that this challenge of management adjustment and the societal changes in there, if I could check maybe with Executive Director of Dejo Startup, what do you think and what does Dejo do in kind of nationwide perspective to address to these changes? Because you guys working with a lot of startups, and essentially those are the first-hand companies who facing these challenges because they're starting now. Perhaps it is good for them because they don't have any legacy behind. But how are you helping them to, for example, how do you help somebody who has never done the business and now starting the business in an environment that's changing so rapidly? I start something today, but next year it might be something else. I might need some different solution for deployment. Can you walk us through it? Dejo Startup in a quick 2-3 minutes address on how do you guys going to and how do you plan to address the challenges in a changing business environment and management environment?
Okay. Thank you very much, Thomas. First of all, let me recap a little bit about challenge with respect to the technology and societal change regarding the fintech development. I mean, the Q Startup Center has been doing a research on the fintech landscape in 2020, and we found a remarkable biggest challenge that the business environment in the financial sector is a price war. I mean, a price war in the sense that it attempts to capture the market share by lowering down the price or provide 0% on the payment or on the financial remittance and so on. I mean, that you can see a lot that the bank and the other financial services are doing at the moment. However, I would like to say that probably is not a necessary challenge because if we have a look from the perspective of the accessibility and affordability, the Cambodian people in particular are underbanked and they are not very rich. So having these 0% can encourage the people to adopt the digital technology and use the payment gateway as well as the mobile banking. So which is quite good. But another challenge it would be how to deal with the fast technology adoption with the low level of the financial literacy in the country. I mean, both in terms of the consumer and also raise a challenge in terms of the talent pool that supposed to back up by the developing the core banking system and the core payment gateway system. I mean, with respect back to the question, I mean, what would be the startup would do in regard to the support of the startup? I mean, recently we are launching a reverse innovation program, which will be announced the reverse pitch day on next Monday. And this program, we partner with the Association Bank of Cambodia, with the CAFT, with the Command Enterprise, and the other bank partner like ACLEDA, ABA, Wing, CB, so forth and so on. And this program is quite unique in the sense that we are not allowed the startup to provide the challenge to solve by themselves, but instead the corporate, the banks, the association of the bank in Cambodia, we provide the challenge related to the bank, related to the fintech, related to the other thing, for example, like electronic know your customer, digital signature, so that the startup who have interested in this area can work with us and also in partner with those banks. I mean, we are running this program because we thought that it would maybe a good chance for the startup to at least have a corporate have a chance to solve a corporate problem, and probably can have we'll have a chance to invest by those banks as well. So please stay tuned with us on the next Monday, December 15, for the more detail out of the program. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I would also want to welcome the Minister of Telecommunication, our Excellency and Undersecretary of State, His Excellency Vongvichet. I have one question there when it comes still this challenging environment and rapid changes. And that's related to consumer trust. I believe that from the position of MPTC, you are quite uniquely positioned in this mix of financial institutions and ministries, because, for example, data breaches might pose a certain risk, which then leads towards the loss of consumer trust, of course. What other elements of consumer trust risks you see? We're talking about financial services here, but it's closely intertwined with services that you support at MPTC. So would you share with us comments? What is the outlook going forward when it comes to consumer trust? What are the new laws, new regulations you preparing? Or what do you see as the main trends in the data protection, consumer protection, digital identity, and other elements that are involved around your ministry?
Hi, so thank you, Thomas. I think this is a very good question. As for current status, we in MPTC we have built in some pipeline and framework to work on the security matter as well. As you know that FinTech are based on technology and security and some encryption that needs to be done in this sector. So what we in 2021, so MPTC plans to build like a cloud data center and also a computing data center for financial sector and small SME and enterprise as well. And we are planning to build a better security depending on the industry. This is what we have came up with. So internet gateway is already on the way for Cambodia. And we are planning to do also a multi-cloud exchange whereby to support the ecosystem of digital environment. So as for current, that's all I can provide.
Thank you. I appreciate the comment, and I see that, and I look forward to it, to see in industry new data protection, data exchange you're mentioning. I think that 2021 onward will need this. So very, very pleased to hear this. I would want to address this probably to our financial experts here and innovation experts from the perspective of financial services. We're looking at financial service firms at this stage actually even underperform because their traditional model's changing. I'm not saying all, but some of them. Bank may be faced with different challenges of how to talk to their new customers, how to interact with them, how to onboard them. With rapid rise of social media, this one is essentially causing day-to-day, maybe positive struggle, but struggle in order to adjust to this transformation. So I would want to ask Misty and Bongloy and ACLEDA representative, can you give me, and maybe we can start with Bongloy from FinTech perspective, then we will go to ACLEDA, and after that we will...
Can you come again the question?
Sorry. Oh, perhaps we have some delayed feedback. Oh, thank you. So I would want to address this towards those three institutions, Bongloy, ACLEDA, and then in the end to Misty. What are the key disruption trends? And how do you think that ecosystem driven by this financial technology revolution is important to financial inclusion? So what are the disruptors, and how important, eventually disruptive or positively disruptive, are they for the fintech and financial inclusion? Chanda, can you start this?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Thomas. So for the disruptor in this market, I think I would have to go from a technology level open API. I think financial institutions giving access to people to be able to connect and play around within that framework, it will disrupt the industry itself as well, to where you can actually try and do different type of financial transactions without really going live yet. So this will create a lot of different innovations that we hope to see in the near future. The other part as well is that I think from the financial side, we have to look at more about the customer journey. Seamless banking, I see that to be kind of like the future. Challenger banks coming on board to create this seamless banking experience, whether they use their mobile apps or internet banking, whatever that may be. And the other part that I believe that will also disrupt is frictionless payment. Right now, we do see that, okay, you can use your card or you can use a QR code, but eventually you can do mobile app banking or mobile app payments, to where you just click on something, a one-click type of environment, and then you just pay for it. And so I believe it goes all the way, the part where it's going to disrupt the market itself is how do you create that seamless experience or that journey that the customer can go and do something, whether they pay bills, buy something online, or whatever that may be. So I think whoever comes up with that, I guess that experience for the consumer, that's probably going to disrupt the market itself.
Okay. In brief follow-up on it, and try to give me some short answers so we can move to Dr. Phonnary. Is it important though? Would you say that for consumers, this disruption, is it welcomed, or do consumers care, or are they comfortable where they are at now, right? And we have very diverse generational pool in Cambodia and other countries. So if you would find middle ground, would everybody or majority of population tell you that disruption in those services and those value pocket chains are important?
I think it's almost half and half. Some do care about that disruption, in a sense that, if go back to your last question, was about the securities and the data protection. So from a consumer's perspective, I do care if I can make a very convenient payment of something. However, with that said, if my transaction is protected and is secure. And so from that aspect, then the consumer will want to use that, and they do believe that if I can do a transaction, I know it's safe, then I will use it, versus to have to go through different type of steps to do something. I think that would be inconvenience for the user itself.
Okay, thank you, Chanda. Dr. Phonnary, what do you think? If you name just one, because ACLEDA and your bank and probably a lot of banks in Cambodia, they do a lot of things. If you take it from the association perspective, from multi-banking perspective, as well as from your bank, what do you think is the single most important disruption positively taken for the banking and for your bank perhaps in next year? Is it going to be eKYC, faster onboarding system, more branchless banking, or more branches perhaps? What do you think it's going to be for ACLEDA and for other banks, maybe going beyond Phnom Penh? What do you need? What is that key disruption?
Okay, the key disruption of financial institution is innovation. I mean, innovation is very important. That as technology, like supply and technology, not stay the same. Always the technology change, and also look for or modernize in order to supply for the need of society. I mean, all sector, not only financial service, but health sector also. For health sector also. That's why that the key disruption that the financial institution should consider now, that they have the strategy how innovation they are now in order to adapt what that the change. And also another one that the financial institutions could not stay, I mean that isolate alone in terms of how to fulfill the demand of the customer, that's why. And they also require, like in Cambodia, younger more proportion of population, also young, that I mean like proportion. And also even the old generation, but also some part of them now also, they also move, change their behavior to digital. That's why that so that is also the demand that the bank have to, I mean that the innovation, to me, I think that very important, that in order to adapt not only Cambodia, but Cambodia also need to also develop, I mean that, I mean like we call that to share ourselves, to share our reputation to the Asian country, I mean like in region, also in the globe. That's why financial institutions play important role, should pay attention to how a technology disruption to their financial service in all sectors, not only banking sector, but insurance and also any other that relevant to financial, even relevant to stock market also.
Thank you very much. His Excellency Seingheng, I have one question on you. Dr. Phonnary mentioned actually as a one disruption, innovation. That's straight in the name of your ministry there. If you could name one innovation for next year that perhaps you believe that financial services and the financial frame in Cambodia will be heading towards, what would you say that innovation would be? And I know we will be talking full week about various services, but if you can pick one, can you put your bet all on one innovation, what it would be? All right, if we cannot hear each other, perhaps I move to the next one, but I see Excellency saying here now on the screen. All right, so perhaps until we fix our connectivity challenges with our online speakers, which is now understandable, and I can move perhaps to the third topic, which is directly towards our financial experts in the studio, the rise of digital banking and rise of digital banking licenses. In Cambodia, when it comes to purely digital banking licenses, we haven't seen pure digital bank. I was mentioning today in my remark, we had CEO of MOX by Untitled Chapter earlier this morning talking, and it's pure digital bank. Are we heading there? Are we there in Cambodia? What challenges we would have to adapt to and overcome in order to push more towards digital banking? And when it comes to, we are not regulators, but when it comes to private sector, when we're talking to ACLEDA and Bongloy, and we're talking, for example, purely about digital licensing itself, is it possible here? Are we there yet in Cambodia, or we still need to first set up the basic infrastructure in order to be able to move there? Or is it already right time to now open dialogue with regulator and push for the pure digital banking license, complete branchless banking, complete digital mobile banking? Maybe any one of you can start who would wish so. Either ladies first or FinTech first. Okay, so FinTech first then. No.
Okay, so the question is, are we ready for digital banking, consumer banking?
Yes, because I don't know, I'm a big fan of digital banking. I think you've seen it anywhere, challenger banks coming up, right? It's we have mobile banking solutions in Cambodia by many banks, but are we there yet? Are we going to be there yet?
I think we're almost there, and because if you look at the amount of internet users we have here, we have about 10 million internet users now. Majority of the people are on their mobile devices. I teach a FinTech class, and I ask the students, how often do you actually go to the bank per month?
What do they say?
Some say one, if that. So really, people don't really go to the banks anymore, unless they need to go sign a piece of paper or withdraw cash, but you can do it with an ATM. So if you look at from that perspective, the banking industry itself, you go to the bank, one, you trust the bank with your money, and you get interest and savings. The other one, you get, lending. You borrow money from them. But if you don't have to physically go there and another company that's providing these services, then I don't really see a need for people to go to a physical bank. And you can do it all digitally if you can move money around. And especially with a payment infrastructure like Bakong that's being introduced now to allow banks to connect each other, then I think that will be the right step forward in terms of connecting all of the financial industries, financial institutions, and then from there, you can, a company can become a digital bank to where they can just move money into that account, provide these services to the customer. Therefore, there's no need to go to the bank itself. Okay. And so from that aspect, I think we're kind of there, but then we have to look back at the country itself where cash is still king. And with that, I think people are still hesitating to go to bank with a company that's just purely digital. So I think the transition will be there. If the question is now, I don't think the country itself is ready, but within the next year or two, I think the country will be ready, especially with the youth being able to have access more to money, to funding once they have jobs. And I think that's going to help drive this digital banking forward.
Okay, thank you, Chanda. So I hear that it's almost there, but not yet there, but we're heading there. Yes. So, Dr. Phonnary, I will reframe the question for you then. Yeah. You as one of the blending bank between traditional and innovative, and with big history in Cambodia, do you see, and forgive me for that question, but I think that you will be able to handle it, do you see potential threat from digital banking licenses? You can for sure avail it yourself, but what about technology giants? Outside, you see Google, Facebook, they're applying for their banking licenses, right? If one day, for example, Cambodia will allow it, and we will do digital license fully, you will be able to transform being fully digital bank as well. But will this hurt traditional banking? Or you are assuming that and you are ready to transform? Or you think that you will be able to coexist because people still will need traditional side? I mentioned this morning that FinTech to me is kind of blend between traditional and new. I think that it will never fully overcome the traditional side. But what do you think? Do you think that, give me your perspective on this digital banking. Is it your friend or foe?
As a financial institution in Cambodia, yes, some of them not yet ready to move so fast, and some of them to move fast, and some of them not yet so fast. That's why that if we talk in general, talking that maybe to pure digital banking is not yet and we take time to more at least 3 or 4 years, something like that. Okay. And also need to change culture of our community that a caste-based system in Cambodia. And you talk about like big tech or tech giant. Yes. Like Google or Amazon, or etc.
What did they come?
They come, I think that for ACLEDA Bank, for ACLEDA Bank, our IT infrastructure also can ready to integrate. I mean that we have to, if so, we will try our best. We could not stay calm on this, because relevant to what our philosophy that how we retain our customer and provide them with satisfaction and don't let them to say welfare to us. That's why that we have to move also fast, and integration very important, that partnership I think that could not avoid. That's why if we have to that we have to be creative and do innovation to how to adapt with that big giant. And because I know that we could not say, because everything completely like data I mean, all data through online system, through also Facebook, that they have all information of customer with them. So not so difficult for this big giant, I mean tech giant, to capture market share in Cambodia. So to me that we have to integrate, to do integration, very important, that to keep our customer safe, and also adapt to the what the technology change so fast, and demand of the customer also so far. However, the challenge that we have to try to pay, because if you do so, the customer will be like like prior I already mentioned earlier, that the customer base is still so I don't think that like giant, I mean that the tech giant will come. They also have to study how the market in Cambodia and how they can capture, and they will do feasibility study, that feasibility study, that how the demand in here, and existing financial institute, what they do. And so I think that, so
sure.
If we cannot avoid, so we have to adapt, could not stay.
Okay.
Calm, yeah.
Appreciate your comment. Dr. Phonnary, Chanda, gentlemen online, I would want to ask this question to everybody, and it's from the perspective of impact. And I think the digital banking license and digital licensing overall is coming hand in hand with it. So if you foresee next year and years after that, you foresee big technology companies coming in, you foresee Cambodia is being more and more digitalized, is Cambodia ready for this digitalization? Is Cambodia going to face big negative impact or positive impact in different industries? You know, is it going to reframe, transform our financial industry, financial services? Is it going to go hand in hand with changes in our data infrastructure for entire Cambodia? Are we ready to adjust? Is it going to bring essentially ultimately benefits for Cambodia, or we need to take it slower and see step by step where we are ready, when we're going to be ready? So maybe I would want to start with Ministry of Post and Telecommunication. Then we could move, and keep in mind we have the delays in the responses there. Then we could move to MISTI, Tejo Startup, and we will end these comments with our financial experts here in studio. So if Ministry of Post and Telecommunication can start with comments.
I think this is a very good question to put on. Is Cambodia ready for the digital transformation? In my perspective, I feel that we should take it slow due to there's so many compliances and regulations, policies of the government have not implemented or have not set for private sector and enterprise yet. I think there's some law and need to be regulated before allowing the full digital transformation. And in technology-wise, I think we depend currently. Cambodia depend mainly on cloud services that are not in Cambodia itself. So, in order to move into a full digital transformation, they need to have a local data center to able to compute the data processing, like AI, automated architecture intelligence, and as well as a big data analysis. I mean, a lot of banks right now have some of the banks still using their old core system, and also we need to. And some of the app and application are not able to integrate into the banking system. And this also play an important part for financial side and also a digital transformation where banks are able to analyze and understand what the customer need and what they really want in the future. That's why Ministry of MPTC also plan in our pipeline on having personal data protection in the future, so that our citizens are more protected and ready to go inside this digital transformation. Yeah, so I will leave it to other panel to further on this question.
Okay, thank you for the questions. I would agree with Excellency Vijay that the digital banking would not happen quite soon. I mean, considering a number of reasons. For example, the law and regulation is not there yet, and we still need a lot of law and regulation to support the digital banking to be happen. And another thing is the infrastructures. I mean, both the internet infrastructures and the other enabling infrastructure, for example, like electronic know your customer, the digital signature are the fundamental to support the digital banking, to allow the people to open the accounts online. And these infrastructures are not there yet. So probably we can take a slow approach by allowing the local banks and local payment service in the country to adapt itself by transforming regularly the core system by utilizing the technology, and also harvest the potential from the perspective of the skill in order to improve the competitiveness in the coming futures. And in the case that the tech giant, for example, the other company like Facebook would like to open a digital banking in Cambodia, for example, in that sense, probably maybe bring a pro and con. I mean, con in the sense that probably it can raise a fierce competition to the local bank due to the huge capital as well as the technology that they equip. I mean, we probably cannot compare to that tech giant company. However, on the pro side, I mean, the local bank and the other payment service provider already captured the market share. So the presence of the tech giant would give an alert to the local banks to stay innovative more, to further innovative in order to stay competitive with the other bank. And the end answer would not clear cut right and wrong. For example, you can see from the ride-hailing service, the presence of the Grab compared with the local pass up, and now the market share is about 50 and 50. Similarly, for the food delivery that we can see from the Nguonly and Food Panda, also 50-50. And this does not means about the Libra, the Libra, I mean the Bitcoin or the digital transfer that introduced by the Facebook association. I mean, from the very beginning, it seemed to be a catch an eye on all the major players. But now it seems quiet, and the initial partner tried to live from one to another. And probably it cannot be adopted globally, although Facebook holds more than 1 billion active accounts. But considering the case of Cambodia and the lack of eKYC, the lack of law and regulation, I mean, that would not exist in the near future, I would say. But of course, digital banking would be a major disruptive factors in maybe the medium term from now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure, and if we will hear from Misty, but maybe organizers can help to text and let me know if Misty wishes to speak. Meantime, I would because we don't have much time for questions from the floor and questions from panel. So if I would summarize it, what I'm hearing today from panelists in studio and back at your screens from ministries, reframing of financial services is already happening. It's moving quite fast, but we all need to consider current infrastructure and current changes, and we need to see how to implement it step by step. With that, there is probably a lot of collaboration between all of you and all of us. There is private sectors, there are different ministries that will be collaborating together toward one common infrastructure. So in the conclusion of this panel, why don't you please, all of you, we can start, if ideally we could text Misty to start this and then continue one by one. What will be the collaboration efforts? Let's do 2 minutes each panelist between private public sector and between public sector, yourself, gentlemen. What are we preparing? And because collaboration is for sure very important. So what are we going to see next year onward?
Okay, thank you, Thomas. I think for collaboration, what's going to happen next year, I strongly believe that, you know, the ministry should come up with a scheme or a platform whereby law and regulation and digital law need to set aside before making more move before, you know, just so different ministry should, you know, come in together and working with NBC to come out with schemes and policy and regulation law to, you know, set aside. So to build a common goal for the future challenge in the digital transformation. Due to, I think, digital law have not been regulated properly here. So even though big tech company coming in, like for example, right now we are having issues with Facebook, YouTube, and Netflix. So they don't have their whole office here in Cambodia. So all their revenue that earns from Cambodia are not taxed. So what's happened is that, okay, just Facebook alone in 2019, I think just on the boost and advertising on Facebook is roughly about 400 million, if I'm not wrong. Yes, and not a single cent has been taxed to our government. So this issue has been arise in many countries as well, like Singapore, Australia, and other Southeast Asia. So the government that we are planning to implement and to study this case is to, you know, allowing all these tech giants to comply to the local law, and so that we're able to tax them at a rate so they can, you know, pay to the government as a national revenue. So yeah, I think we need to come up with a scheme or something for this giant company to able to set up their office in Cambodia to so that we're able to tax them legally. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have Tejo Startup or Misty express their opinion on collaboration going ahead, 2021, in lieu of financial services and framework?
Okay. From the startup side, I think the collaboration is already there, and collaboration is very important to echo the need of the both the infrastructures, the law regulation, as well as the technology to intervene from the government and the other association, so that they all well prepared. I mean, in terms of collaboration, it's happened already, and it will be even more tightened in the coming year. And I can talk into two schemes. I mean, from the institution-wide, we can see that the ABC and CAFT play an essential role in order to construct the community between the bank and the payment service provider and the other fintech company to stay close together and talk together. And then from the private sector, like the bank, would also help to stay innovative and also gradually transforming themselves by utilizing the technology. And from the government, we can have the role of NBC to regulate on the bank side and the Ministry of Economy and Finance to regulate on the non-bank side. Because at the moment, if we are talking about the fintech, normally people try to infer to the bank and the payment, but actually there are more sectors that cover as well in the fintech landscape with the non-bank perspective. For example, like social security, the trust funds, the pawn shop, the insurtech support, and so on. So these are the role of the NBC and also the Ministry of Economy and Finance to do that. On top of that, we can see that the government are trying to draft the digital government and the digital economy policy, and they already include the fintechs as the main essential component to drive the economic growth and also consider all the necessary infrastructure as well as the digital law as well. From the technology-wise, we can see Bagong play a very essential role in terms of interoperability between the bank, and it opened more opportunity to let the local bank and the payment as a provider to talk to each other. And the CAFT, that role stands for the Cambodia Data Exchange that has been initiated by the Ministry of Economy and Finance and operated by the Job Startup Center. We already connect to the national ID of the Ministry of Interior, and hopefully that this would open an opportunity to build digital infrastructures like eKYC and digital signature. I think these are the importance of the collaboration, and we will see that the result will be coming out in the coming year. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I'll try to pause for 20-30 seconds whether we would hear from Misty. We have some connectivity challenges there. And if not, then I would want to just briefly, because we have 3 minutes left, to Dr. Phonnary and Chanda, collaboration. You are private sector. Give us some brief in closing towards collaboration. What do we need to see from private sector, from the government? We heard we are going fast, which is good for fintech guys like us, Chanda. We always like to see fast. Bank are somewhere in the middle. We've seen the ministries giving us a little bit of word of caution, which I understand, because we shouldn't jump somewhere where we are not yet secure with and where we still are very uncertain. So I fully understand. So from private sector, if you could voice it out, what will help? What kind of collaboration will help in the new framework, essentially, for the financial services? Try to leave it within 1 minute each if you can, and so we then give some message through government representative here, and we can meet hopefully next year over collaborative meetings and discussions forward this new frame. So Dr. Phonnary, yes, perhaps.
Thank you. Yes, for the private sector, financial institution also would like government also issue, like digital banking license with a clear direction for the implementer, like also in the bank association, with the also participate of a bank association in Cambodia, and also one of when we come up with the regulation, so we are together also with private sector. We could not avoid with the support of government that later our ecosystem in Cambodia can fully, establish, like in order to reduce cost base and also make a customer more convenient, and also to link our payment mean to the to the region and also to the globe. That's why that and my another one that I just want to say to the sector that should not stay the same, like I mentioned that innovation very important. So from now on, you should adapt yourself to what the technology rapidly change and customer behavior change. That's why even small or big, but integration, as we talked this morning a lot about how to system integration, how to adapt our culture and human, our resources in order to adapt digital banking that we could not avoid. So this is my message that to the leader of all financial sector should consider about this and put in the strategy in order to be ready for that.
Understand. Thank you, Dr. Phonnary. I wasn't sure who is trying to reach. We have 1 minute left, gentlemen. Do you have any final comments?
Sure. So in terms of collaboration, CAFT was started based on really collaborating with other financial industry, with financial institutions like the commercial banks, PSI, payment service institutions, and also startups. So we really focus on collaborating with all of the different players to try to transform and really push the industry forward. Also from my company, Bongloy Payments, we actually love and believe that collaboration is what will also help move things forward for us as well. In terms of, we do have a financial sandbox where people can go in and develop, whatever solutions that they may want from the acquiring to the issuing side. And so this is something that I think is needed in this country. I think collaboration is needed for the whole country as a whole to grow. And so I hope that having this discussion here that we can all collaborate with the regulators and the private sectors to really come together and to, again, transform the industry itself here.
Thank you, Chanda. And with that, since we reached our time, thank you very much, gentlemen and lady, for discussion. It was wonderful to have you, and I hope that this collaboration and this discussion is a starting point towards the reframing of financial services in Cambodia 2021 onward. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.